Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are channeling a plus size Kate Beckinsale to bring you my Gothtober TBR. I did not intend for there to be 13 prompts for Gothtober. Originally there was only going to be 10 because I am rubbish at readathons and setting myself ridiculous goals, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. And then things changed and we brought in the 3 representative prompts, which are really important. It created 13. And I'm not superstitious, but I decided 13 was not the number I wanted for my first hosted readathon, so we have more than 13 books now, but each book covers at least 2 prompts because I'm a realist and I appreciate that whilst I would love to hit 5,000 pages for the first time this year in a month, that's not going to happen. So I'm going to go through my TBR with you, but just know that this is completely flexible and I will not get through all of these, but each of them has like a particular prompt that I want to hit. But worst case scenario, there are other books that will hit those prompts as well, so it doesn't matter. I'll end up mood reading my way through the whole thing anyway, so please feel free to do the same with your TBRs. Like, don't be too hard on yourself. I know a few people have just skipped prompts entirely. That is absolutely fine. Like, I'm just happy that so many people are on board with this readathon because I'm a tiny little nobody and it's just, I know that I have so much to thank Olivia and Tish for with the support and the creative side of it. Like, thank you massively to both of them, and enough smushiness. Let's get on with my TBR. First book I want to talk about today is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Now this is a classic gothic that I have not read, probably because my mum keeps telling me I should read it, and you know what it's like when your mum is constantly berating you to do something and you're like, I'm just not gonna. Except that Kira Foster and Jess are hosting a Rebecca read-along for the month. But this gorgeous cover that my brother bought my mum for her birthday or Christmas last year has a gorgeous leather red front cover, so that works perfectly. And essentially the main story of this is this woman marries a duke or someone, an aristocrat that she knows next to nothing about, and she moves in with him and strange happenings start occurring. And there's I know that there's a housekeeper that is just really spooky and weird things happen. It's a gothic classic that I felt I had to have on my TBR, and it hits the female protagonist prompt and probably grey morality as well with the red. So that's 3 prompts in one off on the first book. Although I do have obviously books set for those other prompts as well. That's my first read. This is the one that I'm going to be prioritising because I will be reading this during one of the live streams, one of the Saturdays. So I will need to get a great head start because I'm a slow reader and she is chunky. So that's the first one. Wish me luck. The next prompt I want to talk about, and I feel like I want to go from the hardest gothic to the least gothic in my TBR so that you're not like completely overwhelmed. For my modern retelling, I will be reading The Wicked Cometh by Laura Carlin. I bought this purely because it has a stunning shiny cover. It is very gothic looking. It's been described as gothic. It's set in London, and that's literally all I know about it. I know that it is a gothic retelling and that it is historical, but it only came out like a year or 2 ago. So I can't give you any more information than that, except that this is what I will be reading. Look how pretty it is. I don't know if it hits any other prompts. I'm assuming it has a female protagonist. Most of the books I've chosen have, but yeah, so that's that one. The last of the actual gothic that I'll be reading is The Turn of the Screw. I got 20 pages into this during another readathon earlier in the summer, but I just didn't get to finish it and I needed to prioritise the other books. So I thought, it doesn't matter, I will save it for Gothtober, and that's exactly what I've done. It has a gorgeous red spine, so that counts for the red, and it also has a female protagonist. So if I don't finish Rebecca, so long as I finish this, we'll be fine. For Dark Academia, I don't own many Dark Academia books, but I do have the audiobook for The Raven Cycle. I know that this is, I believe, Welsh set, or certainly they're looking for a Welsh fairy king, that it's Dark Academia on Goodreads. I know that lots of people enjoy this book and I keep getting recommended this book and I just haven't got around to it. So this seemed like a perfect opportunity, seeing as the only Dark Academia books that I really owned I've already read, because originally I was going to read The Furies, but I already read that for Bookopoly. So really shot myself in the foot there. But it's fine because I've got Raven Cycle and audiobook, so that's what I was doing for that one. Okay, stepping away from the gothic into non-fiction. This is a book that I've heard no one talk about, but it came out this year. I've already somehow managed to bend the front cover, which is really upsetting. Don't know how I've managed that. I'll be reading Superior by Angela Saini from my BIPOC or BAME author, and basically looks at the idea that race is not real, like it's a social construct that we use to oppress, which is fun and something that I think I need to read more about. I wanted to read more non-fiction written by authors of colour anyway. I pre-ordered this, thankfully. I've got several more on my TBR, which hopefully when my book buying ban ends I'll be able to buy all of those and kind of really go into the politics and the social constructs of race, because I find it really interesting and I think it's really important, especially with everything that's been happening in the news recently, which is absolutely terrifying. But yeah, so this has obviously has red on the cover, but I'm mainly reading this for the BAME prompt. Another BIPOC read that I'll be reading this month, but is actually for the grey morality prompt, is My Sister the Serial Killer. Now this is about a young woman who has already helped her sister get rid of 2 bodies of men that she has killed, but she becomes more emotionally invested in that when her sister turns on or starts becoming attracted to a guy that she's also attracted to, and she has to decide whether she's going to protect this guy or continue to defend her sister. So I've heard really fantastic things about this. Apparently the audiobook is fantastic, but it's a nice little short read that ticks off those 2 prompts and also has female protagonist and lies in. So I've got cat hair all over this. 4 nice and easy prompts, all tucked into less than 300 pages. So again, if I don't finish the others, at least I'll have this. I'm really excited for this one. I've literally kept this on my shelf and kept this away from my TBR because I wanted to read this for October, because I do enjoy a thriller, but I have to be in the mood for a thriller, and there is something about cold, wintry weather that just makes me, I just live for the thrillers. So there's a couple more thrillers that I'm excited to add to my TBR, but this is the first. In fact, let's just get through the thrillers. Not that we need to, like, it's hard work, but obviously one of the prompts is lying, so we have The Lying Game by Ruth Ware. I did mention this in my lying prompts recommended. I love Ruth Ware's writing and I'm really excited to dig into this one. It also has grey morality and a female protagonist. It is chunky. I may do this as an audiobook because there's just something about hearing a thriller that just gets me more than reading it. I'm assuming it harks back to the fact that I used to be read to a lot as a child and I really enjoy having people read to me. I burn through audiobooks, so I will probably listen to this one as an audiobook, but I'm really, really excited to see how dark and twisted these characters can get, so that's good. And then the last thriller is another more modern retelling. It is also a foreign setting and has red on the cover. I will finally be re-attempting Yo Nesbo's Macbeth. This is about a cop who is involved in a drugs bust and manages to get loads of recognition for all the hard work he does, but he is not a good person, and he quickly realises that the only way he's going to keep this recognition and this power that he's been gaining by killing more people. So it is a Macbeth retelling. It is super dark. Yo Nesbo is known for being gory and gross and terrifying, and I'm really excited. So again, this is another one where it came up in the TBR like back in the day, and I'm just really excited to get into this now that it's the season. 'Tis the season to be frightened. But those are kind of, yeah, those are the only spooky stories that I have, or thrillers, or anything that I think is even going to remotely terrify me. I do have another gothic retelling that has undead characters in it, which is Uncle Montague's Tale of Terror by Chris Priestley. This is a middle grade collection of short spooky stories that Edgar kind of discovers when he moves into his uncle's house. I have not read Chris Priestley before, but I've heard really, really good things, and I figured this would be a nice easy read to tick off some of the other prompts, again, if I don't read these chunkier books. But yeah, so I'm excited for that, and I thought it would be good to have a couple. I've got 2, this and one other middle grade that I'm hoping to get through in an attempt to warm up for Readathon next month, which is obviously all middle grade. I'm really excited for that. So the other middle grade is purely for undead character, but also has red and bones on the front. I will be putting Vampirates back into my TBR. I really wanted to read this a couple of months ago and I just didn't get around to it, so I don't know how high I'm going to prioritize it because I've got some really chunky books in there, but I'm really excited to see what we can get for this one. I've read this before. I have the second book, so I feel like if I read this one I may also start the second one. We shall see. But this is the other middle grade. It's middle grade bordering on YA because they are, as much as they're kids, they're not super young, but it's not very YA in the tropes that like in the way that it's written, so it's a bit of a mix. But yeah, excited for that one. For my female protagonist, but also for lies and grey morality, I will be reading the 3rd book in Holly Black's Max Folk of Air series, The Queen of Nothing. I have had this in my house for 2 months and I haven't read it yet, and you should be really proud of me because I'm so excited for this one. If I don't read this one first, I'll be genuinely really surprised. I loved The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King was really interesting, and I've heard that The Queen of Nothing is even better than the other two, so I'm really excited about this. And essentially this is about a girl who is like a human girl who lives with the fairy folk. In this one she has been exiled from the land of fairy where she has spent her entire life, and I'm assuming she's going to try and fight for her way back because she's technically queen, and I'm so excited. Okay, I'll stop gushing now. One of the prompts was your oldest purchase, but this also has undead characters in it technically because vampires are undead characters, even though these are not the most undead because they're blue bloods. That's literally the whole premise of it. But essentially vampires are being murdered and they are the social elite. And this character, I'm assuming, has to work out how and why. I bought this because so many people had talked about it, and it has sat on my shelf ever since. It is my oldest purchase. I have been keeping track of books that I've bought this year, but this is a book that I bought even before that. So I need to read it or I need to get rid of it, and that's why it's on here. I'm not super excited about this one. If I don't read it this month, I will be unhauling it, which is probably really harsh, but I only bought it for like £1 at a charity shop anyway, so I don't feel that guilty. I know we had vampires, but for the bone prompt, I've also added Shadow of Bone. This also has grey morality, foreign setting, and female protagonist, which is great. I didn't get a chance to read this for Bookopoly. I've only got a couple of days left of Bookopoly, and I still have 6 books on my TBR because I did more rolls every time I finished the book, and I've just decided I'm not going to even attempt this one until I get to October. And I'm really excited. I'm probably going to do this one as an audiobook as well because there's just something about YA fantasy that I really enjoy being read to me. If you haven't heard about the Grishaverse, there's so many people that have kind of like ranted and reviewed about it that I'm not gonna waste your time explaining to you what this is about, but essentially magic and people and military in this one, but I think in the Six of Crows it's a heist, which is interesting. But yeah, I will finally be starting this trilogy. For the disability prompt, which also has red, Get Like Chloe Brown is about a young girl who I think has, I know she has like she's chronically ill, and I want to say it's some form of like chronic pain, can't quite remember, but essentially this girl decides that she wants to get a life, she's going to get a boyfriend, she's going to ride a motorbike, she's going to do all these crazy things. But yeah, essentially it was the female protagonist, disability rep, and BIPOC author that I've had this on my shelf for a while. This was gifted to me by Sam, so thank you Sam. I will finally be getting a chance to read this. This is another one that's been in my TBR a couple of times, but I kind of wanted to keep it for Gothtober, so really excited for that one. I know lots of people have really enjoyed this. And then there were 2. So the first one is for the LGBTQ rep and foreign setting. Now this is Heroes by Stephen Fry. Stephen Fry is an openly gay comedian. He is award-winning, very intelligent man. I think he's fucking funny. And he has done this and I think 2 other books that are about mythology, but obviously this is about Greek heroes, so it's set in Greece, therefore foreign setting. And I wanted to read his take on Greek mythology. That there is a running joke that historians were like, the Greeks all were really good friends. It's like, no, they were like openly gay. It's just one of those things. I feel like maybe his rendition of that will kind of lean into that, and I find that really fascinating, especially having read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I want to read more mythology where we're not glossing over the LGBTQ community because it's unpalatable. I think that's wrong. So I'm hoping this will lean into that. But yeah, essentially this is going through Greek heroes. I was having a look the other day, like 400 pages long with another 50 pages of characters and character descriptions and terminology at the back. So it's going to be intense, but I'm excited. And then the last one is for foreign setting and female protagonist, The Sisters of Winterwood. I don't know I know that it's set in Moldova/Ukraine, like along the border there, so it counts as foreign setting, but I don't know the story very well, and I haven't heard many people talking about this, but the cover is stunning and very shiny, so we appreciate that. But essentially you've got 2 sisters, and I think one of them is taken for some reason, magic related. I know that this is a fantasy and like a fairy tale retelling, so yeah, that's all I really know about this one. This is another one that was gifted, but I'm really excited to finally actually read this, so that should be good. So I think that's all of them. They are a hefty pile. Okay, so yeah, we're just gonna rest it on my knee, but yeah, this is it. If you didn't know already, there is going to be a live stream next Wednesday at midnight because that is technically the last day of September and the first day of October, I will be doing a Q&A and the first live reading. Unfortunately, my co-hosts will not be able to join me, so I really hope that I'm not just sat there on my own. Please set the reminder. It's there ready for you. But yeah, if you've got any questions or any queries, or you just want to start Gothtober with me with a bang, that'd be great. But other than that, I hope you have a nice day, and I will see you next time. Bye. Which would be great in an attempt to get through to Believe a Lot. In an attempt to warm up for Believeathon. I can't even say it. In an attempt to warm up for Believeathon. Believeathon. Oh, I made a mark. Oh. I put ink on it. Haha! She's fine. Yeah, she got there in the end, didn't she?